We begin.
The first episode begins with the words of Sandman, with the intention to introduce the audience to the world of dreams and nightmares and, of course, its creator, the Sandman. For that, I must say, well thought of. However, it also sounds like an insulting remark to humans who think that only the waking world is all that matters.
As if your dreams have no effect upon the choices you make.
And there's also a sense of ego that can be felt here.
And enter my realm, for I am the king of dreams and nightmares.
Anyhow, we learn the importance of dreams and nightmares and the one who control them. And just after this, we see the Sandman is about to leave his kingdom to chase a rogue nightmare Corinthian. But before he does that, he gets asked the silliest question by his assistant, Lucien, a character whose very existence makes no sense at all in the series. And the question, "My lord,
you are coming back, aren't you?"
Well, on that, Sandman replies like, "Why I wouldn't come back?" Then she says, it's because of a presentiment, means a feeling that something bad will happen. And suddenly this question pop up in your mind like, is this the first time Sandman is ever going into the waking world? You're thinking about that, and just then comes this dialogue.
As powerful as you are here in your realm, dreams rarely survive in the waking world. Nightmares, on the other hand, seem to thrive there.
At first, this dialogue sounds cool, but when you think about it, you know that it is as silly as that question. "My lord, you're coming back, aren't you?" Why? Because dream is another name of the Sandman, but he isn't just a dream. He is the creator of dreams and nightmares. So how can he be less powerful in the waking world than a nightmare that he created himself? And there's also a contradiction in the story, because later in the very first episode, when that nightmare Corinthian meets Mr. Roderick Burgess, what does he say to him about Sandman?
Dream. What's the good of a god who governs dreams?
Not a god. More than a god.
Well, if he's more than a god, then how can he be less powerful in the waking world? Actually, we don't have to go that far in the first episode. Actually, in the very beginning, when Sandman goes after that rogue nightmare Corinthian says to Sandman,
"Here in the waking world, we're unstoppable."
it would be a meaningful dialogue if it was said for a different context. Seeing all this in the beginning, I was like 100% sure like this series is going to be average or below average, because not only these problems, because I could clearly see that there is a total mismatch between the dialogue, story, and of course also with the visuals that are being displayed on the screen. And I thought like this series cannot be good or great for sure. But what happens next was totally unexpected. And it made me forget what I was even thinking. Hi, my name is Lucky and you are watching The Sensible Review. Sandman. A powerful being gets trapped by Mr. Roderick Burgess through a dark magic spell. Well, was it by mistake, or let's say the spell went wrong? As we know that Mr. Roderick Burgess wanted to capture Angel of Death to bring his dead son Randall back to life. So was it really by mistake, or there was someone else behind it? It doesn't matter. What matters is that the Sandman is powerless and imprisoned in a binding circle, unable to perform its function. And as a consequence, a sleeping sickness spreads in the world. Some unable to sleep, others not able to wake up at all. And this sleeping sickness it only affects a small portion of the world, not every single person on the earth. That clearly indicate that not everyone is guided by their dreams and nightmares. That was really, really well thought of. And further, we see Mr. Roderick Burgess gets the help from that rogue nightmare to keep the Sandman imprisoned and enjoy his tools as some gifts. And here, what I absolutely loved about the Sandman was his silence. I mean, why he doesn't utter a single word? The way I imagined him to be like an arrogant kind, if he really was like that, he would be saying stuff like this. Roderick Burgess, do you know who I am? I am Lord Morpheus, King of Dreams. Do you have any idea what damage you're doing to your world by keeping me here? Release me now and ask for forgiveness, or I will haunt you in your dreams for eternity. So instead of being an arrogant king of dreams, he chooses to remain silent. Well, through his thoughts, we learn the reason when he says that day after day, they begged for the things that were not for mankind to receive, nor mine to give. So I remained silent. And it clearly indicates that he understands humans and their very nature. He knows that there's no point of talking unless he has the exact same things to say that they want to listen. And this kind of understanding has to be there because his very existence is to serve human. He's creating dreams and nightmares for humans, right? So that kind of understanding has to be there because he's been serving humans for how long? Eons. The next good thing is the connection between Sandman and Alex. Alex, who seems to be a good one. And there comes this question, how to define someone as good or bad? Let's take Alex as an example. He knows whatever his father is doing is wrong. And he says this to Sandman like, I would let you out if I could. And soon after, just to prove to his father, he kills that raven. Even after his father's death, when Sandman shows trust in him, he just disappoints him.
I need to think.
And even later, he doesn't let him out, but keep asking him to promise not to harm him and his partner Paul. Paul, who has nothing to do with anything at all. And before that binding circle gets broken, his final words were like, I just want to be free of you. And who was stopping? Oh, his own fear that he created in his mind. So that question again, how to define someone as good or bad? Well, you can feel sorry for others. You know what's wrong. You want to do good, but out of love, fear, or any other reason, you ignore all that and you do what's good for you. And you let those bad things happen. So tell me, was Alex a good person or the bad one? The message here is your actions speak louder than your words. Means what you do matters more than what you think. Well, you can think all the good or great things in your mind, but if you're not doing anything about it, it's pointless. And yes, we also know that Alex was mistreated by his father. He wasn't loved and raised the way he should have been. But that still doesn't give him the reason to become the kind of person he becomes. And there's also an underlying message through the relationship of Alex and his father, Roderick Burgess, that we humans mourn for things that we have lost. We mourn for people we have lost, and we ignore all those things that we have right now with us. And that is stupid, but it is the fact. And the next good thing about the first episode is the Sandman's escape. Well, about Sandman's escape, I love the way he does that. He slips into the mind of that security guard, collects some sand from his dream, makes him fire to break that spherical glass, and the way he comes out of it and kind of open a portal, and the way he floats into it, that whole scene was so mesmerizing. I couldn't believe my eyes. The VFX people, they have done a brilliant job here. Everything about this scene was brilliant, brilliant, and brilliant. The level of imagination here was like next level. And I think I can say the same thing for the very next part that comes after this.
Hello.
Before returning back to the dreaming, Sandman goes into the mind of Alex and puts him into eternal sleep. But before he does that, he asks these questions. You have any idea what it was like confined in a cage for over a century? Do you understand the damage you have done to your world? Well, on that, Alex says like, I'm sorry, I didn't know that, please. Of course he knows. He just doesn't want to accept it, but just pay attention to the words of Sandman. Your punishment then shall be a gift. I give you this, a gift of eternal sleep. And then he finally goes back to dreaming and witness the damage there. And then again, a series of dialogues that makes no sense to me. Sandman says, where is my palace staff? Had they so little faith in me? Do my own subjects not know me? The question here is, if in the absence of Dream Lord, his palace started falling and decaying, then what about his subject/palace staff? Why they didn't start to fall and decay, turning back into dust or something? The Sandman must have created them just like the palace. Or maybe even in the dreaming world, there's this concept of living and non-living objects. But then there are other questions. Mr. Roderick Burgess never attempts to capture Angel of Death again. Why not? He was successfully able to capture one of the Endless, then why not try again? Don't tell me there was only one feather pulled from the angel's wing. He could even ask for Corinthians' help to do so. The Sandman's raven has the power to fly between the waking world and the dreaming. We see that happening at the very beginning of the first episode, but we'll learn about that later in another episode. So my question is, why Jessamy never goes back to the dreaming to inform others? Like say his palace staff or his assistant Lucien. For 10 years, that raven remains in the waking world and then gets shot to death. Hilarious. On the death of Mr. Roderick Burgess, why Death doesn't show up there? If she has done that, she could see his brother, Lord of the Dreams, captured in that spherical glass, and she could help him to escape. Why she doesn't show up there? They created this character of Death specifically for the 6th episode. These questions could have easily been avoided by capturing Raven and Angel of Death. Another thing that I noticed that I find quite stupid here is that Nightmare Corinthian was able to track down Mr. Roderick Burgess just like that, but no one from his palace staff was able to do so. How is that even possible? And this sleeping sickness that spreads in the world, it affects millions of people in the world. For 100 years, Sandman was imprisoned, so that realm of dreams wasn't functioning, and still the world was running smoothly. There was no other damage. And Roderick Burgess, he was also running a cult. So we don't see him doing any damage to the world or anything at all. I think that is stupid. I think that's all for now. See you soon with the review of the second episode. Until then, goodbye, stay safe, stay healthy, and don't forget to subscribe the channel. And remember, don't just think to do good, do good.